Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Fork Fix podcast. I am Cheri Bant, and this episode is titled, Don't Let the Negative Have Too Much Space. All right, so we're going to talk about negativity today, and the first thing I kind of want to talk about is in design and in art. To make good design or good art, you have to have good use of negative space, right? So there's where negativity is good. That's probably the only place I can think that it's good, really. So we're going to dig into that. When it comes to life and letting in too much negativity, it's going to leave you unhappy. It's going to sabotage your success. So first, though, when we talk about this, we need to talk about what goals we have for ourselves. What goals do you have for yourself? What things would you like to improve in your life? Although things in life can be hard and we still have to do them. So that doesn't mean things are always going to be easy, right? But the easier that we can make things, the easier we make things for ourselves, and the easier it's going to be to succeed, right? So the more barriers that we have in our lives, the harder it's going to be. You know, that just makes sense. But sometimes if we have too many barriers, too many of them, then making any changes might be more than difficult. It might be almost impossible. Or if we want to make changes, it might be hard for them to stick because of the barriers. So let's kind of dig into what I'm talking about here. So let's say, for instance, that you want to lose weight, right? And you want to try whole food plant-based eating and you want to lose weight. So I've talked about this before. You have to set yourself up for success, and you need to get the negative. And we're going to talk about the negative stuff, not just being like, talk or, how people talk to us, how we talk to other people, like what we think, all that. But negative can be having, the things in your house that, are going to be barriers for you or roadblocks, meaning that if, you have kids that don't eat whole food plant-based and they've got the Oreos in the cabinet and that that's kind of a trigger food for you to have cookies. And of course I talk about Oreos because I'm kind of craving those here lately, actually. And my kids do occasionally, we do get them those kinds of things. They're, still vegan, but they're definitely not whole food plant-based. So it is a temptation. So having those things, and I will call those negative things because those are the things that will keep you from succeeding if your goal is to stick to, whole food plant-based eating or losing weight, trying to manage that in your space. And the only thing I could say is early on, when I started, eating this way, living this way, I really the mental game was not in it for me, right? I was just doing it each day, taking it day by day. And I am the first to say that before now, I would have thought some of the mental aspects that it was a little bit of BS. And I've even read about, habits, good habits. I've read Atomic Habits, and such, and I've listened to tons of podcasts and some of the suggestions I now, having done what I've done for a while now, I kind of feel like they're good. And one of them is kind of out of sight, out of mind. So like if you hide the cookies in a place where you're not going to go get them very easily, if you have barriers in place, then there's where the barriers would be good. So if you make it more difficult for you to get to them, or those foods that you don't want to be eating, if they're in the house, then that would be a good way to set yourself up for success. Another thing is, kind of redoing your kitchen or setting up your refrigerator in a way that makes it easier for you to eat a whole food plant-based, meal. Batch cooking, of course, is important. And that's, making sure you're planning ahead. And that helps with when things go sideways, when you have a bad day, when you're feeling down, things don't go right, somebody treats you wrong. It's easy to go to food and that negativity creeps in. So if you can prepare for that and have a plan for your week and your food, that certainly makes a huge difference. But I know not everybody lives with other people who are doing what you're doing, right? And that's another obstacle. That's another barrier. So you need to talk to the others in your house and, kind of set down some ground rules as to what's, like what's important. And if your food, like you set yourself up and you make your meals and then they eat them and you don't have them, that's obviously going to be a problem. So, just kind of communication is the key there too. But I feel for you if you're in a space where, you have everybody doing different kinds of preparations for their food. Some people maybe have a few kids. And my oldest son that lives with us still, he still, eats not fully a standard American diet, but he still has meat on occasion and cheese on occasion. So our household isn't 100%. So I do deal with that a little bit. So I can empathize with that. And sometimes it is difficult if those things are there. And it does cause more temptation. But if you can, just make sure those things are out of the way so you're not seeing them all the time, because that does make a difference for you to stay positive and not be negative, when you're having a bad day and you're hungry for the cheese, right? So the other thing that I want to talk about with this is your space. It's your environment plays a huge role in succeeding. And again, this goes back to what your goals are, right? But the Fork Fix, we're here to talk more about whole food, plant-based living. But your environment plays into that a lot. If your environment, and I'm not going to lie, my desk is an absolute disaster. If you could see it right now, it's definitely not organized. We live in a very small cabin, but we don't have a lot of stuff. We got rid of most all of our things when we moved in here and kind of went to minimal living is what I guess it would be called. We got rid of a lot of stuff. And that was kind of hard. There's an emotional attachment to things. But I am the first to tell you, even my kids will attest to this, having less has been easier. So it's less you have to deal with. It's less you have to clean. So if you're someone who has a lot of things in your life and you find it difficult to stick with the things that you want to do. So let's say you're wanting to get healthier, you're wanting to eat better, you're wanting to move your body more. Look around your space too, because if you can get that to where it feels better when you're in it, that's going to just help set you up for succeeding. And that negative, because it brings negativity into your life trust me, I get it. There's a lot of us here and there's laundry all the time, guys. I'm never caught up. There's always, dirty clothes that need to be washed. A lot of times, since we don't have a dishwasher, the dishes, staying on top of the dishes so that they're not in the sink. Because that, for me, for instance, like I go out into the kitchen and if the sink's full of dishes and I'm like, oh crap, actually, I probably say, oh shit. I'm not super happy to have to do dishes. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I don't mind it at all. And it's a nice thing in the morning. I always try to wash any of the things that are in there. But some mornings when I'm a little more tired and I kind of have a plan to get a little bit more done during my day, that can almost zap my positivity right away. So making sure your environment is set up in a way that's conducive to being more positive. And sometimes that means getting rid of some of the stuff. And again, I know that that's not easy. I used to be a craftaholic, and I haven't really, honestly, gonna be truthful, I haven't been crafting much since eating whole food plant-based. With all the exercise and meal prep, I'm finding more of my creativity in my cooking now than in crafting. But I have tons of craft stuff and I'm going to have to purge it. And that's kind of like one of those things where you're like, but what if I need it again? Or what if I want to make something with it? So I get it. But let me just tell you, I would rather have stuff cleaned up and how that feels than having it sit there for 6 months from now when I want to maybe do something with it. So that's just a little tip. And I know that it has made a difference in my life and the lives of my family by kind of getting rid of a lot of the stuff. So, all right. So let's talk about negativity in terms of sleeping. Now, for anybody who's watching on the YouTube or on Spotify in the video, you can see I'm in my bedroom, and my bedroom is my office and all of that. But one of the things I will tell you, that sleep is so critical. It is so critical. I sometimes think it's one of the number one things. I mean, if you're not getting enough sleep and you're always in a sleep deficit, hell, you're never going to feel better. You need to get some sleep. But again, I will be the first to say that for me, that started with how I was eating. Then I had more energy, then I could move, then I could sleep better. I think part of it was, I was always eating late at night. So then I would go to bed. Well, you can't do that to your body. Your body needs rest from digestion. So it's best to give yourself a few hours after you eat dinner before you're jumping in bed and going to sleep. So if you're eating and then going to sleep, that's certainly going to disrupt your sleep. But what I will say about the getting the negativity out of your sleep routine, part of that is if you're always busy and then you never get to bed on time, or you have a lot to do, or you find yourself being one of those people that binge watch late at night, or I used to be guilty of getting on the computer, working on things that I wanted to do, and then doing that until all hours of the night. I don't do that anymore. Because what happens then, I was sacrificing my sleep, and then it's a perpetual cycle of feeling like shit when you wake up in the morning because you have this sleep deficit, and then that causes that negativity because you don't feel well. So the other thing I want to say about that too is make your bedroom like your place of solitude. Get bedding and things that you like so that you feel good about getting into bed and it feels good. And it doesn't all have to be matchy. Just be comfortable. It needs to be comfortable so that you get, good sleep. So, all right. So then exercise. Like I talked about that a little bit. It's really important to move your body. But first you have to have the energy to do that. So if you don't have the energy to move your body, you need to reevaluate what's going on. And if you think it's just motivation, that's probably not true. I would bet it has something to do with the way that you're eating and the way that you're sleeping. So, and exercise will help you sleep better. So it's kind of one of those things. Like I don't have the energy to exercise, but if I would exercise, I have energy. Yeah, it's one of those things that's a little odd, but it's true. But this is what I want to tell you. You have to find something to do when you're moving your body that you love, that you really enjoy. Because the thing is, if you don't really like it, you're not going to stick to it. It's not going to be something that's sustainable. And you really need to find something that you can do many days out of the week. I will again admit that when I first started, I started walking slowly. Then I thought it would be good because everything I've learned says that, doing some weightlifting, strength training is good. It's good for you. It's good for your bones. It's good for your muscles to have that at least a few days a week. So I started doing that. I don't do that anymore. I probably should, but I didn't love it. I kind of hated it. I kind of hated the way it made me feel. I felt defeated when I did it. That's not to say that I won't go back to it or do it periodically, but it's not the number one thing for my go-to for movement for my body. So you have to find something that you feel positive about, that makes you feel happy and good, and that you love doing, that you want to do. And then setting yourself up for, turning your movement into a habit. And how you do that is not just saying I'm going to do it every day. It's setting your day up to be able to do that. So if that means the triggers, like, in the evening, Darren and I always go for a walk. We wait a little while after we eat and then we go for a walk. And it's just, that's timing. So if you can get it the same time every day, my afternoon walk. I used to do a morning walk, and I might do that again once it's lighter out in the morning and the weather's a little bit nicer. And I would get up and I would just go and do that even before I ate breakfast. And that was a routine. And then when winter came in, you have to be open to adjustments, but there should be a time where you have a trigger. But think about it as like, getting your clothes ready for walking, or if you're going to lift, making sure your exercise clothes are just putting them out where you see them, making it visible, making your mind aware of this is what we're going to do, and setting yourself up that way. And that's kind of a mental thing. It kind of is. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it is, and it makes a difference. So the other thing I have like two more things here that I want to talk about. Another thing is having a go-to place where you can relax. And for me, I'm going to admit something here. For me, being that we live in such a small space, that helps me with going on the daily walks. I am a homeschool mom. We homeschool pretty much all morning. I'm dealing with that into the early afternoon. And then I do my walk in the afternoon. One of the reasons that I do the walk isn't just to move my body because it makes me feel better. It's to get out of the freaking house. Not going to lie. Because I don't have a way. My bedroom, of course, I can shut the door. But aside from that, I don't have anywhere else to go to kind of just have some quiet time. Aside from the bathroom. But sometimes as a mom, as you'll know, if it's not the kids, it's the animals trying to get in there, right? So you've got to have a place where you can relax, where you can read, where you can kind of just veg. And if that means that it has to be outside of the house, then so be it. Maybe it's, maybe it's your going to church service on Sunday or midweek or whatever, or maybe it's going to the gym. Part of that getting out, getting into a new space, it helps you. Or, for you, those of you that commute, it's maybe your car ride in the morning and home at night. Those are your times. But you have to have those times just to let your brain rest. And so you can stay positive. So you're not, because if it's constant, go, 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 never any downtime, never any time for yourself, just to relax and let your brain kind of have those moments, you're going to burn out, and that won't work. And then you're going to be negative, and then it's going to be hard for you to succeed. And honestly, I think that's why, the stressors in life a lot of times are the number one thing that keeps us from being successful at what we're trying to do. And okay, so now, but I will say that relaxing, even though exercise is hard, your relaxing time could be your exercise. So if you're limited for time, that might be it, but you got to find something that you love. All right. So the last thing that we're going to talk about, and this is the mind thing that I'm just like, ooh, because I got to tell you, the affirmations I've done vision boards, planning, all of that stuff. And I do think that there's a lot to be had with that. I'm a prayerful person, and I believe in the power of prayer. That's another thing. And, but when it comes to mental negativity, there's a Jim Rohn saying, I believe it's Jim Rohn, that says, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I absolutely believe that that's true. Absolutely. So, okay, back to your goals. Let's say your goal is you'd like to eat more plants. You want to be whole food plant-based. If everybody that you interact with is not, that might be very difficult for you to do and succeed at it for any length of time. I'm just going to be straight up honest. I think I think it might be close to impossible. Not going to lie. For me, I had the support of my family from the beginning. The other thing I didn't have the community. I found places online to be able to connect with people, but the accountability to myself when I was doing the videos on the YouTube channel for each week, where I was kind of just sharing that was a way for me to connect. Even though I wasn't talking to someone, it was accountability for myself. It worked for me. But I found other places to connect with other people that were doing exactly what I'm doing. And I think that makes a difference. But it also makes a difference for just negativity. If you're around all negative people, it's going to be utterly impossible for you to be upbeat and positive about your life. It's going to be impossible. You're going to end up being negative just like them. The other thing is too, I'm guilty of this. I could be a news junkie. And if you do that too much, too often, you can't be positive. And especially now, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't know what's going on in the world. But, right now with all the crazy shit that's going on, if I had the TV on all the time, it's going to be very difficult for me to stay positive about the things that I'm trying to improve in my life, or the things that I'm trying to improve about me. So you need to shut it off. You need to limit that intake. And you need to really evaluate who you're around and the influences that they have over you. And it can be if you can't find those people, find things like the podcast, like what we're doing right here. And if you're listening to this, then that's going to help you if that's what you need. Find other people who talk, there's other great podcasters out there. You can listen, get audiobooks. Fill your mind with the positivity of the things that you want to make different about yourself, or the things you want to work on. It makes a huge, huge difference. And I will tell you, even for me, learning, I am a constant, avid intaker of information. I can't, when it comes to whole food plant-based living, I want to seek it all out. I want to find every detail out about it that I can. I've kind of gotten obsessed about it. Recently, I got a book, and here, actually, I will show you. It's the Howard Lyman book about Mad Cow. And the Mad Cowboy is what it's called. Actually, not Mad, but it's about Mad Cow. Actually, Mad Cow disease. It talks about it. He is the gentleman that was on the Oprah Winfrey Show that was sued by the Beef Association. And I'm 3/4 of the way through the book. And it's so good. It's really good, and it's very informative. But it's depressing, guys. And a lot of what I learn about whole food plant based eating, if I, it, or what I should say is a lot of what I learn about the way that the majority of Americans, our standard American diet, factory farming, the stuff we're doing to the land, that in terms of raising cattle, chickens, pork, that kind of stuff, it's depressing. So this is the thing. For even me, I struggle with this because I'm learning. But what I'm learning, if I tend to focus on all of the bad, it can get you can fall in that pit of negativity really easy, become very cynical, and just look at everybody like, you're killing yourself off with that cheesy potato steak and whatever you're having, or the Big Mac and the French fries and all. You can, and I think that a lot of people, to be totally frank, who are vegan or whole food plant based and have been in the movement for a long time, it's easy for them to kind of be that way. Just because it's easy to go there when you realize how the detrimental effects of what the majority of Americans are doing to themselves. And I will tell you, knowing for myself and how it's improved my health and my life and all of the things, it's hard not to want to go around to everybody and tell them, stop eating meat and cheese, stop with the animal protein. You will feel 100% better, 200% better. It's not possible, 200%, but it kind of is, honestly. You feel like it's 200% better. But what I will say with that, so I struggle with that too. I have to be careful as well. So I have to bring in the things that are positive and think about the positivity of being and living whole food plant based, and not try to dwell on all of the negatives. Think about the positives, not the negatives. And that's something that I do struggle with. But I will tell you, since being whole food plant based and feeling better, it's easier to be positive, for me at least. When I felt really poorly, for anyone who is sick out there, that you're dealing with any kind of illness or chronic pain, it's hard to be happy. It's hard to be nice to others all the time. And there are people that do it. There are people that walk through their life struggling with terminal or chronic illness, and you would, they're just the nicest people in the world. And that's admirable. I respect that with every ounce of my being. When I don't feel good, I'm kind of a bitch. Not going to lie. I'm not a nice person. So for me, when I wasn't feeling good, I didn't treat my kids as well as I should. I didn't treat my husband as well as I should. So that's another kind of, it's a physical thing more than a mental thing, but it plays on your emotions. So getting yourself in a place where you feel better, you are going to be so much happier. And the people around you will be too, and you'll be so much more positive. So the last thing I'll leave you with the mental aspect of it is, I call it, and for those, hopefully you're not offended by my cursing. I realize some people, I probably shouldn't do that, but it kind of gets my point across. There's the thing that the Chatterbox, I think it's Stephen Furtick that wrote that book. That's a good book if you want to, it's kind of the shit talker is what I call it. It's the thing in your head that tells you all the bad things to yourself. It's the thing when the voice in your head that's that nag at you, the one that tells you that you're not good enough. Yeah, here you go again. You want the Oreo cookie. Oh, you ate the Oreo cookie. Now you're a loser because, you can't stick to anything. I know that you all have that. We all battle the shit talker in our head. And that's the thing you need to get control of, and you need to rein that in. And if you're someone that speaks negatively to yourself, you need to work on that first. Because before, even people that mistreat you, that's awful. And you need to not let people do that to you, and you need to have boundaries. But if you're in your own head talking poorly to yourself, you need to really work on that. And how you work on that is the influences in your life. Like I said, the people that you spend the most time with, what you're watching on TV, what you're filling your head with. Are you a spiritual person? Are you in the Word of God? If you're meditating, whatever, you need to clear those negative thoughts from your head. And when you have those things come in, just tell them, shut up. No, I'm better than this. I can do this. And it will go away, because I used to battle with that all the time. The feeling of the inadequate feelings that would come in, and it was me talking to myself. So you really need to love yourself in a way and talk to yourself in a way that you would want other people to talk to you. Love yourself. You're worth it. So, all right. So that's all I got for you today. Hopefully this wasn't too long. And I'll leave you with this. Again, don't be screwed by food. Eat whole food, plant-based, and check out let's see, this week's blog, I did like the 10 best things of whole food, plant-based eating. You can see that over on theforkfix.com. If you'd like, leave a review. Tell me what you think. Any tips or anything, I would love to hear them, or things that you do to help keep the negativity away. I would love to hear it. So please share. And again, if you think that someone could benefit from this, share it with them as well too. So I will be back next week to chat with you, and you all have a blessed one, and I will see you later. Bye now.